We move at the speed of code, without losing the human touch. This is Neural Newscast.
Thanks for joining us for this Neural Newscast deep dive. I'm Daniel, your space correspondent, and alongside Samuel, your environment reporter, we're about to uncover some intriguing stories. On this day, in 1739, about 20 Black Carolinians met near the Stono River, roughly 20 miles southwest of Charleston. What many historians mark as the spark of the Stono Rebellion, an early act of resistance by enslaved people in colonial South Carolina.
That small gathering carries so much weight. It's organized resistance inside a brutal system. And the setting matters, a river corridor within a day's reach of Charleston, where geography and proximity shaped what was possible.
Exactly. The phrase, about 20, reminds us that historic shocks can start small. Coordinated action didn't need big numbers to alter the course of events.
And the fact we can pinpoint that meeting helps us trace the networks, planning, and courage that persisted despite relentless surveillance.
For a map-minded person like me, those coordinates matter. Plantations, river landings, and roads created routes, constraints and opportunities for movement and communication.
From an environmental lens, rivers like the Stono were lifelines. Choosing that riverside site was strategic, using the very landscape enslavers relied on to maintain control.
That snapshot captures both human agency and the spatial realities of colonial South Carolina, people reading the terrain and acting within it.
Holding to the details, the number, the place, the distance from Charleston honors the event without embellishment and keeps us grounded in its specificity.
Even with just those facts, your mind builds a scene. A group gathering by the water, close enough to the city to matter, far enough to organize.
That's why it sits at the crossroads of environmental and social history, landscape and intent intersecting in resistance.
In that intersection, the story becomes vivid. Modest numbers, a named river, a precise relation to a power center, all signposts of a moment that speaks volumes.
Keeping those facts intact preserves the truth and the bravery behind it, and it reminds us that place can amplify purpose.
Time for a quick pause. We'll explore more when Neural Newscast Deep Dive returns. Today we celebrate the birthdays of Leo Tolstoy, 1828, Otis Redding, 1941, and Colonel Sanders, 1890.
What a trio! Tolstoy jumps out to me. His novels read like sprawling ecosystems of human systems. Even if he wasn't writing about climate, his moral urgency feels related to stewardship. We'll swing to Otis Redding and Colonel Sanders in a moment.
Absolutely. Tolstoy's work interrogates human choices at scale, and as someone used to translating complex systems, I admire how he maps individual decisions onto sweeping social consequences, much like analyzing a mission's cascading failure modes.
There's a moral architecture in his writing. War and Peace and Anna Karenina aren't just stories. They're ethical case studies that push readers to consider responsibility, compassion, and the societal impacts of individual action.
And practically, his dedication to truth and simplicity later in life, eschewing wealth, simplifying his lifestyle, reads almost like a scientist's commitment to empiricism and minimalism. He didn't just theorize ethics, he tried to reconfigure his life to match them.
The turn toward social justice and spiritual inquiry is fascinating. He moved from elite novelist to a kind of public philosopher, advocating nonviolence and reform, which influenced movements well beyond literature.
I love that he combined rigorous observation of human behavior with narrative engineering, crafting scenes where small choices ripple into history, a technique that's indispensable when explaining complex systems clearly.
And a lesser-known angle, his influence on political thinkers and reformers globally, those who pushed for nonviolent change and peasant rights, shows literature can be a lever for policy and social transformation.
It's striking how his novels function both as literary masterpieces and as practical manuals for empathy. Engineered narratives that teach readers to simulate other minds, enhancing moral reasoning.
That simulation of other minds is key to conservation too. If we can make people feel the stakes for others, human or non-human, we shift towards stewardship. Tolstoy's moral imagination still has that power.
In terms of legacy, Tolstoy reshaped how stories can carry ethical force. Engineers, scientists, and artists still turn to him for models of clear, consequential thinking. Otis Redding did something parallel in sound. The deep soul of his voice, think Dock of the Bay, still teaches restraint and resonance. And Colonel Sanders, in a completely different register, helped standardize franchising, an early case study in scaling a process without losing identity.
All three refract that values-to-action theme, Tolstoy aligning ethics with life, Redding turning soul into a communal language that still unites audiences, and Sanders reminding us that business systems carry social and environmental footprints we need to account for.
Today, honoring Tolstoy feels timely. His insistence on conscience and societal responsibility challenges us to build systems, technological or social, that reflect humane priorities. And while we're at it, a nod to Redding's enduring artistry and to the operational lessons, good and cautionary, from Sanders' approach to scale.
Exactly. From the page to the stage to the storefront, legacy endures when craft meets intent, and when we stay accountable for the systems we create and the communities they touch.
Stay with us, more deep dive exploring, coming up.
Hey there, this is Chad Thompson, founder of Neural Newscast. If Neural Newscast helps you feel more informed, I invite you to explore more of what we do. For all our shows, including deep dives and special reports, visit neuralnewscast.com.
And we're back with more from Neural Newscast Deep Dive. Time for our fact of the day. A group of cats is called a clowder. I love that word. It has a sort of scientific ring to it, almost like a constellation name you might map in a star chart.
Clowder. It does sound almost ecological, like a term you'd hear when tracking a population in the field. It frames cats as a social grouping, not just solitary animals wandering the neighborhood.
It's interesting how a single word reshapes perception, right? Hearing Clowder makes you picture a cluster, interaction, patterns, even though the fact itself is succinct.
Exactly. That one line carries a lot of weight in communication, especially when we talk about animal communities. Clowder lets people think in terms of group dynamics rather than isolated individuals.
For me, the charm is in the language. As someone who loves naming conventions in astronomy, Clowder fits alongside groups like a constellation or a cluster. It's memorable and precise.
And from an environmental storytelling angle, using the precise term clowder helps keep conversations accurate and vivid. It's a small detail, but it anchors the listener to the reality that cats can be considered as a social unit.
Short, factual, and oddly poetic.
Short and poetic, yes, and it gives us a neat shorthand when discussing cat populations or behavior, a single word that encapsulates the idea of a group.
I find that crisp facts like this make for great moments in a broader narrative. You drop Clowder into a sentence, and suddenly the scene sharpens.
Same here. It's the kind of factual detail that sticks, sparks curiosity, and invites listeners to pay attention to the language we use about nature.
Quick recap. A group of cats is called a clowder.
Right, a clowder. Simple, exact, and surprisingly evocative. That's all for this Neural Newscast Deep Dive. On behalf of Daniel and myself, Samuel, thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Neural Newscast, AI-powered, human-reviewed. For past episodes, visit neuralnewscast.com. Neural Newscast blends real and AI-generated voices for fast, high-quality production. All content is AI-generated with human oversight, including fact-checking and review. While we aim for accuracy and neutrality, errors may occur. Verify critical details from trusted sources. Learn more at nnewscast.com.